So, hey Libra, my name is Chris, and this is your reading for basically the rest of 2026, fall and winter 2026. And I'm doing the Celtic Cross for you. Tower and the Fool card. Let's just keep the Fool card at the bottom of the deck. And let's do the Celtic Cross. Let's do the King of Wands, the Devil. Yes, the Devil and the King of Wands. And I like it that it comes out like this, right? Because the King of Wands is standing on the Devil. So you being in control of your passion, of your fire energy. So antagonistic, toxic, narcissistic people can sometimes play us on our fire energy, right? If you're passionate about something, you get a lot of emotional involvement, you get a lot of fire going, right? You're passionate about something. And if you're not careful, if you're not mindful, people can manipulate you through your fire by triggering you into a reaction, usually guilt, fear, shame, anger, especially when it comes to fire energy, right? You controlling your fire energy, that's the antidote. That's why, thank God for that, the King of Wands is on top of the Devil, right? But that's the crossing energy. People are probably trying to push your buttons, right? And you have to be super careful not to lash out, be zen, be in a meditative state, be mindful and control, like the King of Wands, your fire energy. Express your will, state your opinion, but don't be rude about it. Try not to fight windmills, try not to convince other people. There's the Nine of Pentacles at the foundation, which is pretty good, right? Abundance is here. You don't have to work so hard. There is your work. Eight of Pentacles. You're working on something, but you're getting something out of it. So kind of instant gratification, so you don't have to work so hard. It's getting much easier. You're coming from a time of the Eight of Swords, blocking yourself with overthinking, and there is the Empress. Beautiful, beautiful energy. Comes up all the freaking time. In 2026, it's just a year. You being master of yourself, right? Not asking for permission, not asking other people necessarily what they think or if they like it. So you kind of become independent from outside stimuli, right? Independent from recognition or permission, And again, there is the King. That's the power couple here. So you know yourself, you love yourself, you respect yourself, and that's how you show up in the world. While you're working on something. You're working on something super successful. So you get something going for yourself. Don't allow that energy to trick you either into overthinking or to question yourself or to push your buttons in the sense of, anger, frustration, right? Lashing out, being really passionate, being really fired up, right? And there's anger here. And the King of Wands controls that fire energy. Could be anger with the Devil in combination. That's the challenge here. But you resting within yourself. And the Empress is doing one thing. There is the Queen of Cups wanting to come out. Know how you feel and know what you're passionate about. So you act according to your passion, but very zen, very balanced within yourself. Now I guess I lost my train of thought. You're no longer naive. You know how the world works. You're standing up for yourself, even if your voice is shaking. Speak your truth calmly, and even if your voice is shaking, even if you're a little angry, but keep it in a balance, right? This energy wants you to lose control of your fire energy or of your emotions. Distract you from whatever you are working on. So keep that in mind, honor that, and don't get distracted. And I see you with the Empress here totally in that Zen state. Are you kidding me? And the Empress and the Hierophant showing up again and again and again. You setting an example for others, right? Not by telling them what to do, right? But by leading by example. That's the Hierophant. That's your inner mastery. And it is a daily choice. You have to choose what you want, which path you're going. There's the Global 2026 reading that I did lately. That is super interesting in that context as well. Maybe you want to check that out later. But it's really, what do you want to focus your attention on? You can overthink about stuff that you cannot change. You can turn on the news and be really sad or angry about stuff, right? You can be angry about yourself. You can be in shame, guilt, fear. You can be even in hatred, right? And looking for a scapegoat, right? Or you can, and that's the other side of it, make a daily choice to focus on that, what you want to create, what makes sense to you, low-hanging fruits, right? The garden, you know, it's fall, winter, there's a time of harvest, easy harvest, right? So you just work on something that makes sense to you, where you get something out of it because you're really passionate about that. And all that challenges, right, of overthinking, blocking yourself to negative thoughts, or kind of being a little triggered and tempted into anger, you resist that by keeping your sense state, keeping your inner state balanced. All four queens rolled into one. That's the Empress, emphasized here with the Queen of Wands. That's how you show up. Sorry, the Queen of Cups, actually. So emotional maturity, being the grown-up in the room, right? Not acting out like a toddler, you know, screaming and making a fuss whenever something is triggering you, but being the grown-up in the room, right? Being zen, being in control, in charge of your fire and your emotions, right? And by doing that, the world is full of people who are trying to trigger you, trying to manipulate you, usually through strong emotions or strong fire energy. You are aware of that, and you're standing your ground, you're upholding your principles by not falling into that trap of being too emotional or too passionate about something. So you are not the toddler who turns a temper tantrum, but you are the grown-up in the room. And you totally doing that with all four queens rolled into one, the Empress, and in doing so, you kind of become an example for others. If you do it, if you let your light shine, you make it easier for others to do the same, right? And that's a beautiful thing. Even if you're challenged here with the Devil, which is obviously not such a beautiful card, but that overthinking energy is already in the past. It's more about being triggered by something, right? And then resisting that urge to lash out into a reaction. You can, if you practice mindfulness and breath work every freaking day, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out, 7 seconds in, 14 seconds out, do that every freaking day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. 10 minutes would be ideal if you start, right? If you have the time, combine that with meditation, right? Breath work, negative breathing, the out breath 2 times that of the in breath, and then meditation. So first you're releasing negative charge, and then you're cultivating mindfulness. You're just sitting there with yourself. And if somebody triggers you, if you practice that, it's a daily practice. If you practice that every freaking day and somebody tries to trigger you, right? You cultivated mindfulness and you can, you know, you feel the urge to lash out, to react to something, but you're mindful enough to catch yourself before you do and catch yourself about it, right? And think about it. Do I actually want to react? Does that deserve a reaction? Usually a reaction is something involuntarily, so you trigger reaction. That's kind of a chain, right? Trigger, reaction. But the wisest thing is to respond, and a response is actually reflected, on purpose. I want to do a response. Reaction is trigger and you just lash out. But if you have the mindfulness ready, right, where you realize, oh, that is totally triggering me, right? I would like to, let off some steam, right? But you don't do that because you're mindful enough to say, okay, it's wiser to take a step back, wait a few seconds, let it settle down inside me for a moment, and then make a conscious decision, a reflected conscious decision. Do I want to respond to it? Does it deserve a response? Or maybe it does not deserve a response, right? And the response is always reflected, deliberate. While a reaction is something involuntarily, you just, explode basically. And if that's your inner mastery, and you cultivate that through emotional maturity and passionate maturity, right? So you're acting according to your convictions, to your beliefs, but you don't force anybody. You're not lashing out. You're not fighting for it. You just lead by example. And if it is indeed such a good idea, right, then people will naturally follow you. You don't have to force anybody. And you're getting there with the 6 of Swords. Yeah, you're moving on from that reaction game of the devil. And yeah, the time of scarcity is over. There is your 5 of Pentacles clarifying the 9 of Pentacles. You're in your lush garden. There is something is paying off. Your hard work is paying off. Working with the High Priestess and the 8 of Pentacles. That's an interesting combination as well. There's your Star card with the Empress. And again, slow down, right? Slow down. Everything that is rushing you, everything that is pushing you into, you have to react now. You have to, some sense of urgency, a sense of haste, right? You don't want that. That is not your friend, especially in the end of or second half of 2026. Slow down. Be mindful and don't allow anybody to rush you into anything. And that's where your mastery comes from. You don't fight windmills. That fight is over, right? 5 of Swords with the Queen of Cups. Page of Swords is clarified. There are shady people in this world, right? No question about it. But you know about them and you can't change them all, right? You can't change any of these people, actually. But you can change yourself, right? And you upholding your principles. If they lie, you don't lie. If they play, shady games, you do not do the same. Upholding your principles, that is guaranteeing you 10 of Cups here, right? Which is resting within yourself, being in alignment with yourself. So you get the 7 of Pentacles, the 8 of Pentacles, the 9 of Pentacles. That will bring something into existence, right? That might attract good people, that might attract the right job, the right career, maybe something like that, right? If you just follow your inner light and let that shine and not being triggered into anything else, not being rushed into anything else, not trying to prove anything, not trying to convince people. And never forget, there are people who just thrive on drama. They don't want to win an argument. They want to engage you into BS drama, right? That's also devilish energy. Don't even engage with these people. Do not defend yourself. Do not engage. Do not explain yourself. Do not personalize that, right? There are people who just thrive on BS and drama, right? And it's a daily choice. It's a daily practice. You have to choose that again and again. And the cup, that's very beautiful that the smaller clarifier deck, bottom of the deck, is the Ace of Cups clarifying the bottom of the bigger deck, which is the Seven of Cups. You choose self-love, you choose self-respect, you choose your dignity, you choose your inner peace. And that is what brings you into this beautiful energy of the High Priestess is here as well, the Empress and the Hierophant most likely. So the outcome is a good work that pays off, that kind of is in alignment with what you believe, what you like to do. Low-hanging fruits, you don't have to work so hard. And then inner mastership as a daily practice. Oromasis, okay. It's number 43. Let me see what that is all about. Purification, okay. Many unexpressed thoughts and emotions stored across time remain locked inside you. Disappointments, fear, worry, and feelings of inadequacy and guilt. Nothing serious, just remnants of life's experiences. It is the moment to release these emotions and purify your thoughts. There's no need to analyze and relieve the past. Acknowledge that you have emotional debris that you would like to clear, then imagine a brilliant flame of light transforming and purifying you. Feel yourself being cleansed and healed. Feel the freedom that purification brings. Feel the joy of love. These are bloomy words for something very practical that you can do actually on a daily basis. As I said, you can imagine beautiful purifying lights. Yes. You can call it oromasis. Yes, but you can actually be disciplined and grown up and Empress and Hierophant enough to sit there every freaking day and do meditation and breath work. And that will guaranteed transform your life and your inner consciousness. And you will not be easily played or triggered by any shady energies, no matter what, right? If you're a little toddler, high on chocolate bars, so to speak, right? You lash out, you're just completely, ooh, yeah, you know? But if you're a grown-up, if you're resting within yourself, that's the way to go, right? Let's just shuffle this once more and trust in divine detours. There is the Five of Pentacles here. There's the Eight of... You know, maybe you have chosen in the past 9 years, 9 or 10 years actually back, maybe since 2008, maybe you have chosen something else than self-love. Maybe you have chosen something else than self-respect, resting within yourself, inner peace over drama, right? Maybe you have fought windmills and maybe you're just letting that go now. That's all I got. Share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it. Check out the yearly reading. Check out your sun, moon, and rising, and hopefully see you next time. Now, Philautia. Ciao.